Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, food. So of course, as an American living in China, I have encountered foods that I've never seen before, never heard before, foods that have been delicious, some foods that have been interesting. So eating out in China is not that expensive. Traditional Chinese food will cost almost about as much as fast food, Western fast foods or Chinese fast foods. So really, if you don't mind waiting, you're not going to pay much more. So far living here in Beijing, one of the foods that I really like is the Beijing duck, which is pretty much world renowned, but it's really good here. And of course you have to try hot pot, which is a big pot of boiling water, and you stick your vegetables and meats in there and let them boil, and then you add your spices and eat it. And this big pot is in the center of your table, and you guys just stick your own food in as you're ready, and then you eat it when you're ready. Recently the Dragon Boat Festival happened, and a lot of people are making their own versions of zongzi, which are small like triangles of rice wrapped in bamboo leaves, and the rice is very sticky, and inside sometimes there's red beans. They can be sweet or not. Sometimes there's meat, or sometimes it's just rice with some seasonings. If you like rice, definitely a dish you have to try. A popular dish that I've had here, both eating out and having friends make it for me at home, is hong shao zhou, which is roasted pork. It's very good. It's kind of sweet. I also noticed that tofu is very popular in Beijing, at least. Lots of dishes have tofu. I've eaten more tofu here in the last 3 months than my entire life combined. It doesn't really have much taste, but the texture is kind of like French toast, like an eggy bread, and it usually absorbs whatever flavors, seasonings that you're using, so it can taste amazing or it can taste like paper. Another popular treat here is chicken feet. People buy the foot just from a grab and go stand, and they just eat the chicken feet, and they like it. I can't say that I don't like it. I can't say that I love it. I do like to use chicken feet in my homemade bone broths, so I do use chicken feet for that. And there's so many other foods and dishes out there that you can go out to eat. Every restaurant has its own little specialty. There's lots of Chinese restaurants, but then there's also lots of other cultural foods, be it from the West or even nearby India, Malaysian, Thai, and then of course American and British foods and Canadian foods. In my apartment I share with 4 others, but I'm the only one that really cooks. And one of my roommate's mothers heard that I like to cook, so she came over and showed me how to make jiaozi, or dumplings, from scratch, and that was a fun experience. And of course I like to cook, so I've been trying to make some of these dishes at home. I've incorporated new spices, Szechuan pepper, star anise. I use a lot more nutmeg and cinnamon in my savory dishes now. And of course, because I cook at home, I have to go shopping. There are many Western stores like Walmart or Carrefour where you can get international goods and the local goods as well, things that you need at a very cheap price. There are also specialty stores that kind of specialize in selling foods from a specific country. As for our American foods or Western foods, we have Jenny Lou's and Hema. They sell American brands, or brands that we're more familiar with in the West. So if I have a craving for something specific, I can usually go to one of those stores and get what I need. There are also markets, local markets that you can go to, and some of them specialize in importing special goods. The San Yuan Li market also is a good example, and they have imported goods, but then they also have fresh foods and meats and fish and stuff like that. So when you do go into a Walmart or a Carrefour, it's pretty much the same as it is in the West, except for a few differences. One difference is the candy aisle is way bigger here than I would have ever imagined. I don't know how much Chinese people like candy, but for whatever reason the candy aisle is very large. It's where, like the chip aisle in America, there's 4 or 5 aisles. Here they have that for candy. And so one aisle will be foreign candies, and then another aisle will be Chinese candies, local candies, but they're like crackers and cookies and sweets. They're like small, one single serving size sweets and cookies and candies, and that's all in this one big area. It's kind of interesting to see that. One indicator of the country that you're in are the flavors of chips that they sell. So here in China, they have some flavors like cucumber and wasabi and kimchi, and flavors that you probably won't find in the West, and a lot of them are pretty good. One other very interesting thing about supermarkets is fresh food. You know, everybody wants fresh food, so obviously fruits and vegetables, you don't know how fresh they are, you can just go based on appearance. But with seafood here, you know it's fresh because it's still alive in the supermarket. So there's these big aquariums with fish and eels and turtles and crabs and frogs and sea slugs and a whole bunch of other animals that I'd never seen before in my life, and they're still alive. And you just pick the ones you want and you put it in a bag and you can take it home alive, or they can kill it for you there. And so it's by far the freshest seafood I've ever seen in any commercial store. Then of course, shopping, I have my special tastes that I look for, and one thing that I'm finding here in China that's kind of let down is that they don't eat that much cheese and dairy products. So when you do go to these foreign stores or specialty stores, cheese is expensive, and I eat a lot of cheese. So, you know, my cheese budget tripled when I got here because it's expensive. And then it's also very hard to find, you know, good flavors, different flavors. Carrefour does offer a large selection of cheeses, but still, even still, after living in Europe, you know, it's not the same, and it's just so much more expensive as well. One time I was in a Carrefour and I asked the lady for cooking spray, and I said, you know, oil. I knew how to say oil, and I said ksh, ksh, oil, ksh, ksh, and I was pointing to the oil, and she didn't know what I was saying, so she takes me to another guy who presumably speaks better English, and he didn't speak any English, and I did the same motion, oil, ksh, ksh, and he's like, oh yeah, okay. And then he typed on the translator and it said, that doesn't exist in China. And so I had I'd been looking around at different stores. I was like, you know, somebody's gonna have it, one of the import stores, and it's very hard to find. You can find it on the internet, but again, it's kind of expensive. So cooking spray, something, you know, you think is common and international, sometimes isn't popular in other places. And so I mentioned earlier that I'm the only one of my roommates that cooks. One, because restaurants are so cheap, and also everything can be delivered here. Every restaurant delivers. If they don't have their own delivery service, they use one of the other delivery services, and there's usually no charge. So, you know, if you don't want to walk to McDonald's or order, you can order McDonald's and somebody will ship it. If you have a favorite restaurant and it's on the other side of town, you can have that delivered. So really, you don't have to cook, you don't have to leave the house to eat. It's amazing that the Chinese are not fatter, because there's just a whole lot of laziness in that formula, but they're not fat. I'm always trying new foods. I'm going out with friends to different restaurants. It's funny because the Chinese people like to eat non-Chinese food other than hot pot. They love hot pot, which is actually from the south of China, so maybe it's still foreign for the people living here. But they always want to eat, you know, at an American restaurant or, you know, Mexican food. And there are some good American restaurants here that serve, you know, kind of authentic type American foods. The Mexican restaurants are very representative of Tex-Mex, not actual Mexican food, but this is the same that we would have in the US. So I'll continue to try new foods. I have met some people who like to cook, so we're exchanging recipes. One of my colleagues, he's from Louisiana, so his grandmother, somebody gave him a Chinese cooking book before he moved here, and he let me borrow it. So we're gonna try to make some of those recipes and see if we can bring the 60s Chinese culinary delights back to life. So join me next time, and subscribe, like, and share, and talk to you later.